Here we are live. Hey, guess what? There's a few things that I'm going to sort out, right? And I know I'm kind of doing it on the fly, and I shouldn't do really, but hey, it's the way it goes sometimes. Let me just quickly do this. So first of all, welcome to the show. My name's Grantley. You can see my green room setup, but yeah, we're about to sort that out now. I've got a really nice show lined up for you today. So stick around and let's get into that in just a moment. Yeah, let's get this sorted. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Welcome to the show. Little bit of nonsense going on there, but you know, we got there in the end, didn't we? Yes, we did. Welcome to the show. My name's Grantley. This is the Grantley Show, and on today's show, my guest is a artist, musician, producer extraordinaire. He's an interviewer. I've seen him do interviews. I saw him do an interview with the great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we'll get into it a bit later on. But this artist that I'm about to speak to is somebody that I've known for quite some time, quite a few years, and I don't think has really been given the esteem and the flowers that I believe he should have received over the years. Even though so many people know him, he's worked with some of the greats in gospel, he's worked with some of the greats in the pop world, and yeah, I just feel like I had to bring him on today, and I want you to help me to give him a warm welcome to my guest, the one and only Nicky St. Vincent Brown. Hey, Nicky.
How you doing? You all right? You good?
Super good, Nicky. Super good. Really good. Sorry about the sort of mishmash on the start there, but you know, sometimes you've got to go there to let people know how it's really done. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. Last week it was your brother, Jerry.
Yeah.
Did you see any of that? You didn't get to see it, no?
No, I've been beavering away here, so I've been like totally immersed in
Right.
In work and different things.
And we're gonna get into all of that. We are definitely gonna get into all of that. But before we do, what I want to do, I want to pretend like nobody knows you, right, Nicky? Literally nobody. And so let's rewind the clock a little bit and go back to how things were in the early days. So you know, yes, most people know that your brother is Jerry. Jerry is your junior brother, your big brother, and according to what Jerry was telling me, you come from a musical family. Mum,
Yeah.
dad, uncle. Let's get into it. Tell us about your upbringing. Where was you born? What school did you go to? Tell us about brothers and sisters around you. Let's get into it, Jerry. Nicky, let's get into it now.
So basically, me and Jerry were brought up in the East London area.
Yeah.
And we attended. Well, I attended two schools. I attended a school called Upton Park, and also one called Selwyn. And then we went to Lister Comprehensive School. I went there for secondary education. Jerry went to Stratford. The area was like peppered with musicians and stuff. I think Cassell went to Jerry's school, or went to a school in Jerry's area. The boys from Central Line were from around there. And numerous amazing musicians, loads of bands started in that area and stuff. But obviously, we weren't allowed out. You know, we were church boys. You know, my mum was like, "You go to church," and that's it. We weren't allowed to play out. We weren't allowed to do none of
You
that
didn't
stuff.
have you didn't have much time to be playing out. According to what Jerry was saying last week,
Yeah,
it
well,
was
we was at
7 days a week was
morning. Yeah,
church.
we was at church morning, noon, and night. Yeah, so there ain't nobody more church than me, bro. Tell you, and I know how to, I know how to set up a church, run a church. I can do the whole thing. Um,
Tell me
yeah, so
something. Tell me something, Nicky. When was the first time you kind of realized to yourself, right? Tell me the first time that you realized, you know what, that instrument. I think I'd like to learn that instrument. What age was that when you first sort of like said, you know what, that's the one that I'm going to go for?
you know what's unique? It's really unique. A couple of weeks ago, a dear friend of ours had a funeral, and she asked me to direct the choir, and the choir was like made up of the good and the great, you know, the London singer scene. So this choir sounded amazing. It was like Ken Burton done one song and I done
Okay,
one song,
okay.
and everybody was like, "I didn't know you could direct choir and all of that." And one of my one of my side hustles is I kind of do these. I do vocal sessions in the studio for artists and arrange and vocal producing stuff. And they were like, didn't know that you could direct a choir. And I was saying to some of them, when I was 4 years old, uh, Mother Reynolds, as she died, but we used to call her Auntie Jean. She said, put him on the bench and get him to direct the choir. And before that, my mum bought me a red bus uh, because I sang Precious Lord with her at church one Sunday evening. So we were just like, we just always in that thing. You know, I'd go to the services, and if the musicians didn't turn up, grab something, man, make it happen.
Okay, so listen, I know that you can play the Hammond, the real sweet, which means you
Mm.
can play any kind of keyboards, right? But I've also seen you play drums as well, right,
Well,
Nicky?
I started out as a drummer,
Was
as
it
a
was it
percussionist.
drums first?
Yeah, it was drums first. So
At what age? At what
I don't know
age?
if anybody's seen it, right? But when people get ready, do you remember people
Yes,
get ready?
Bishop
So
John
I played,
Francis and the like.
yeah, right. So I was the, that was one of my first kind of big gigs aside from playing with LCGC. I recorded LCGC live in Sweden. I was 14 years old
Yeah.
on
Wow,
that.
14.
14, yeah. I kind of ran away from home to make that record because my mum, obviously, nobody liked LCGC at that time. You know, they were the renegades. You know, but I, right. This will feed into this whole narrative that we're talking about. So,
Okay.
basically, my dad had a band called the Overcomers, and it was at the same time when all of, like Windrush, all them guys came over,
Yeah.
and they were all looking for community bases. So all of the churches used to kind of, all the people used to kind of meet in people's houses or in halls around the place, and there was a couple of main places. So one was Camden Town, one was Sussex Road, which was in West London, Southwest London. Then there was Dalston, Richmond Road,
Yeah.
and obviously there was places in the north. So Richmond Road, all of these different places, they had different singers and people, different bands. Um, there was a band called the Heaven Bound Brothers. There was the Dyers, Raymond Dyer's parents,
Okay,
mum and
George
dad,
Dyer.
George Dyer, all of those guys. Then you're up north, you had the Singing Stewarts, all of that stuff. So my dad had a band called the Overcomers,
Yeah.
and they were quite popular, and they sung, all around the place, different conventions, town halls, whatever. There was another guy called Brother John. At that time, um, so let me tell you the kind of people. Um, like we're saying, the Dyers. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of a preacher. He was very, very popular preacher. A guy called Hezekiah Farrell.
Okay.
He used to fly over a lot, do these big campaigns and stuff. Raymond Dyer's parents, my parents, they all got baptized at the same time, right? So John Francis's father was an elder at the church, and when John's mum was sick, it was that same community and other communities that were praying for his mother, and his mother got healed from cancer. So basically, a lot of the people that you see now, Adventist as well as Pentecostal and Apostolic, they all kind of worship together because there wasn't lots of different kind of churches at that time.
Yeah.
And then when more of their brethren came over, then that's when they started to split out and start up their own stuff. So, or go to their own bodies or their own churches like New Tea and whatever, and New Testament assemblies and whatever. But at that time, everybody was very, very kind of cohesive and quite joined together. Or there was a time when they worshipped together, so they became friends and that kind of stuff. Um, Legend has it that when Americans would come over,
Yeah.
especially when they were going to be in shows, people like Kitty Parham and the guys who done Black Nativity, Madeline Bell, all of those kind of guys, they would come by these churches and they would make friends with the families and they would go home with the families. They'd eat with the families. They'd hang out. So my mum would tell me all these stories about American musicians that would come over, stay at my granddad's house, and all of this kind of stuff. And they made friends with Marion Williams, who used to sing with James Cleveland and people like that.
Okay.
And then on the story goes on. So basically, can you imagine? So I was working with talk about people get ready. I was working with John before then, working with him in the inspirational choir. That was before he became a pastor and obviously one of the most famous and one of the greatest voices, to come out of the UK. And he became a bishop and, was preaching all over the world. And I was one of the musicians that had the pleasure of going
Yeah.
and working with him, which was awesome. But way before that, he got signed inspirational choir, and I was in the inspirational choir. But when I first started, I was the drummer, and
Okay.
I was a drummer,
And
and
what
I
age,
went
Nicky?
to.
Because I want to put the timeline. What age were you the drummer back then?
Oh man, my mum enrolled me at the Newham Academy of Music when I was about 9 years old, and I started going there from about 11.
Okay.
And we were studying orchestral percussion. So drum kit was the side, but everybody who went there had to read music. You had to play classical music. It was all that kind of stuff. And my mum was very she was really on it with that. And I used to have to go twice a week. And I had lessons at school, and I had lessons at the actual academy.
Okay.
And and uh, and then basically went to church all the rest of the time. And we
7 days a week.
7 days a week, and we had this choir, man. We had this choir, right? And it was so weird. We had this choir, and my mum was the youth leader. We had this choir, and everybody in this choir wanted to be good. Everybody wanted to really go for it. You know,
Yeah,
everybody wanted
just be on top
to
of their game.
rehearse.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we rehearsed every Tuesday. So basically, you'd see the same people like Tuesday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday, like
yeah.
without fail. And then there was the women's meeting on the Wednesday, which my mum went to, so we had to go to. There was Monday night prayer, um, and if I weren't praying at church with the saints at church, I was praying after school with my nan because she had a prayer meeting on Monday and Wednesdays as well. So there was no TV; it was just prayer meetings all the time, right? So we were immersed in all of that stuff. No wonder Jerry's like a pastor of a church. It makes sense,
It
you
makes
know.
a holy percent. A
Yeah, no
holy
wonder I
percent.
kind of was a minister in the church. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
because you were a minister at
Um,
Ruach as well, weren't you, at one point?
yeah, I was for
Yeah.
that period, minister of music, which is, still it was still a clerical post, but slightly more attuned to the music ministry. But what was really excellent was that um, we would go. So I started out playing with LCGC when I was about 13. We
Yeah.
went off, made this record. The record done really well, and we were recording all the time. Lawrence, and so let me go back a little bit because Basil, this is really important. Basil's brothers are
Basil
my
Mead.
godparents. Basil Meads, uh, I should say Reverend Basil Mead. Sorry,
Ah,
as I should say Bishop John Francis.
yes.
They were uh, so Rev's brothers were my godparents, and they were in the band with my dad.
What?
Yeah, right. So,
Proper
and I
family.
used to see, yeah, and I used to see uh, Uncle Bishop, that is Raymond Dyer's uncle, and his dad George. I see them all the time. So I always knew Uncle George as the man that drove the Rolls Royce. I was telling my friends, yeah, my dad's friend's got a Rolls Royce. So so it's kind of incestuous. So one of the things that happened was obviously I would Basil would always rock up at our church with Carl Booth, and they used to teach our choir and all of that stuff, and they were really like into the American stuff, and we kind of just ingesting it. Really, it was incredible. And I don't know if any of you guys saw Jerry's thing that he's got on YouTube.
Oh, what? What next? What
What
next?
next? And he's
Yeah.
talking about all the songs that we learned. We learned all the Cleveland stuff. We learned all of the Charles Folds. And my grandfather, there used to be a record club at the church where this guy used to come around with LPs. In fact, it was the guys from Miracle Music.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Miracle Music? And they used to sell the records and stuff. My granddad used to buy them all the time, and we used to listen to them on Sundays. And I remember the first time we heard "Until I Found the Lord" by the Hawkins and
The
stuff like that. Just
Hawkins.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing records.
Yeah.
Like when we're like 5, 6, 7, very, very influential records in our
Yeah.
lives. So Jerry like idolized Joel Smith. I loved um, Edwin and Walter. But I always had this thing about melodics and sonics. I was really into it. So even though I was playing drums, I was talking about being a producer, about writing songs, about I was crazy about technology as well. So I love studios. I just anything to do with kind of making music. And about the time when I was starting to make music, electronics was really like moving in, like sequencers and computers and so basically, I run away with the circus to make this record. Basically, I run away with LCGC
You
and we go.
ran away. You didn't
I
have
was the
permission.
yeah, bro. My mum went crazy. She just thought, her household was going wild. What's going on with this child? It was like, but I just felt like I had to do it.
Yeah.
So we made an agreement with her, with my school, everything else. and went away and made this record, and it was a great record. I was one of the first guys to use an electronic drum kit called the D drums, and it was a real precursor to what everybody's seeing now. It was that I also met Bill Maxwell on that tour.
Oh my God, the great Bill Maxwell.
Yeah, but what was
Jeez.
crazy was that Andre Crouch used to come to our church when he was in London
Yeah.
because he was Kojic and we were Kojic. And one day, Juliet Fletcher was having this kind of like an evening with Andre Crouch.
Big shouts to Juliet.
Yeah, and somebody was meant to come and play, and they didn't turn up. And Juliet said to me, "Could you just jump on the piano and could you just play?" And I was like, "But I was like about 9 or something." I was like, "Ah." She was like, "No, no, no, get on, you can do it, go play." And so I kind of, as he was coming in, they were singing "Take Me Back," and I was like, just playing the chords real simple. You know, I had a little piano at home and I could play some chords and whatever. And there was a whole community of us. So when we were younger, we used to go to White Lion Street. So I used to go see John playing, and Roy, his brother, you know, Roy Francis, he
Yes.
was a good player. And his brother, Uncle Tesley, used to live in my mum's house.
What?
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, this thing is weaved. Yeah. So I grew up with Uncle Tesley bringing home all of these amazing keyboards, Moogs and clavinets. He had a Rhodes, all of that stuff. And so I was just amazed at all of this stuff, you know. And I got to play it, and he was like, "Come, let me show you some chords and all that stuff." So I was kind of in it, and I was immersed in it, which is good. So Andre is talking about writing songs and saying how nobody liked him when he was a kid because his dad was a pastor, and he would write a song and tell them he wrote the song. They'd hate it because he wrote it, and then they would like saying, "When did you write the Blood?" You know, and that. And he said, "Oh, I was just a young kid, man." And then he goes, "Kind of like him," and he pointed at me,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Wow, that's crazy." Anyway, years go on. We go on this tour with LCGC, and I see Andre, and I'm like, "Andre, do you remember when you came to our church?" And he goes, "Nah, man, I don't remember." And he goes, "But you're really cool." And like we had these conversations all the time, and I met Bill Maxwell and all the other guys. Justin Almario was there, and quite a few really amazing musicians. And he asked for me and Jerry to come play for him.
You know something, right? You know, it's
And we
it's
started this
it's
massive
it.
relationship with Andre. And every time he
Yeah,
came,
I think it's
we
brilliant
get
that
booked.
you speak about these people, Walter, and you speak about Andre, but these are guys that have written some really sort of like world famous songs. Oh, Happy Day,
Yeah,
and
yeah, 100%.
just incredible. And to think that at an early age you were rubbing shoulders with these people,
Well,
Nicky, I've got a
I never met
zillion
the.
questions to ask you,
Yeah,
and
I didn't meet the Hawkins until much later on in life.
okay,
But what I did do was the next best thing, and was that I met the Clark sisters
wow,
and became friends with the Clark sisters because me and Freddie used to play for the Clark sisters when they came to London. And something amazing happened the other day. BB was having like a birthday celebration
yeah, wasn't that just like last year or the year before?
last year. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
last year,
my
right?
son Matty played drums.
Wow.
So they were introducing everybody to the band, and obviously they were like saying, "Oh, this guy, this is Matty Brown or whatever." So they said to to the guys, "Oh, do you remember Nicky? This is his son." And so like all the people that were there were like, "Oh wow, that's great." So they said that to Karen, First Lady Karen. They were like, "This is Nicky's son." She was like, "No, no way, you mean my Nicky, my Nicky?" And she was freaking out, and she was like, "Wow," you know what I mean? So this is how long I've known some of these folks, because through our church there was this incredible like weave of kind of I mean, people don't even talk about stuff like when Bishop Francis went to America when he was a teenager. He kind of got American people to come to London and teach like music
Yeah.
and like when we were doing People Get Ready, I mean we were people were coming because he was calling them to come. You know, like Marvin and all these guys. These were people, they weren't
It's a,
like people we
you
saw
know
from
what
afar.
I
These were
find
people that we
amazing.
knew.
You call people's first name and you do it so naturally because you know them so well. But I've got to encourage you to make sure you say surnames as well. So you're talking about
Oh,
Marvin Winans.
yeah, I'm Bishop Marvin Winans. Bishop Marvin Winans.
Bishop
Archbishop Marvin Winans.
Marvin Winans.
Well,
Respect.
listen, let me give
One
you a
of my
Marvin
favourite male
Winans.
vocalists of all
Let me give
time.
you a
Bishop
let me give you
Marvin
a
Winans.
Bishop Marvin Winans story. So Bishop Marvin Winans came to London and heard a song that Howard Francis, Mark Beswick, and myself wrote called "Singing to the Lord." You know the "Singing to the Lord" a new song,
Yeah.
right? And he said, who wrote that song?" And we were like, "Oh yeah, we wrote it." So he was like, "Oh, we'll be singing that by Sunday." So you know, you hear people say that stuff, and you're like, "Yeah, whatever." And let me tell you something. I just got all these videos coming through and live stuff coming through with him doing a song, and I was like, "This is crazy." So one night we were on the road. I was on the road. No, let me say, not say we were on the road. I was on the road with Bishop John Francis, and in true Bishop John Francis fashion, he has to go to church. Like he can't leave 1 minute of his life where church is not involved. He's the ultimate church man. All right. So we're in a hotel in like somewhere on the East Coast, and it's like a good hour's drive away, hour and a half. We get in a taxi. He says we're going to Bishop Marvin's church. And I'm like, "Oh, Bishop, man, I just want to stay here." And he's like, "No." He said no. First he said, "Yeah, you can stay there, Nick. Stay there. Just stay. I'll go." And then he comes in 3 minutes later and he goes, "Put your clothes on. We're going."
Put your clothes, we're
So,
going.
yeah. So we turn up at Bishop's church, Bishop Marvin's church, and Bishop sees Bishop Francis and he's like all happy and he's like calls him down the front. And then he sees me and I'm kind of like just standing there because I'm just like the guy, right? I'm just like whatever. So I normally just find somewhere to sit or whatever. He calls me. He's like does the finger and he calls me, right? Because me and Freddie used to do Marvin Winans Family and Friends. That's we used to play that when it came to London. Okay. Also, when I was about 18 or 19, I had a chance to sit in the sessions for the album. You know the one with "When You Smile," ba-da, da-da-da. Do you remember that song on the Marvin Winans? I think it's on Returns.
It
The one
might be
with
a little bit before my time, Nicky.
no, it's the one. It's the one that Teddy Riley was on that everybody played.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in some of those sessions at
All right.
Sailor Sound in Detroit. I was sitting in some of those sessions,
Okay.
hanging out with
Okay.
Dana and all them guys and whatever. Anyway,
Nicky, you've continued to live such a rich life in terms of music and the people that you've worked with and met. And I know for certain that one of the turning points was when you met um, a gentleman by the name of Viv Broughton. Tell us about that first
yeah.
meeting with Viv and the significance of that, Nicky.
All right. Well, let me just finish that Marvin Winans stories, and I'll jump
Go
straight into
ahead,
that.
go
'Cause
ahead.
so we get to the church. Bishop Marvin's like, saying, "Come," and then he says, "Sit behind me." So I'm on the rostrum. He says, "Sit behind me," and I see him like looking over at the band. He's looking over at the band. He's pointing at the band. You know, and then he turns around and he looks at me, and I'm like, I'm thinking of Velroy Bailey at this point because Velroy says, "Nicky, they keep singing that song, and they are killing that song," and I'm like, "Bro, you know." So he goes up to collect the offering, and they start the song, and I'm like, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, because I know Marvin Wine, he there's no one like him. There's no one as good as him.
Mm.
Like he's the craziest singer of all time.
I love him.
Like
I love him.
people go to their church to preview their record and leave
Yep.
crying. Because
Yep.
if he likes the record, he'll pick up the back of your song and shame you up.
Yeah.
He's crazy,
Now
right?
this is how it goes. This is how you're supposed to be singing
So
it.
I'm sitting there, and they get this is like 10 minutes of the song because they're doing the offering, right? 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, this is really good, but it's not like making me feel bad because I'm thinking, you know, and then he starts going up in like semitones, and they start flipping it, and they start flipping it, and then he just goes off. I fall on the floor. Everybody's looking at me, and I'm just like, I can't deal with it. And I'm going to Bishop John Francis, it's too much! It's too much! And Bishop's laughing at me. And then he pushes the mic at Bishop Francis, and Bishop Francis was like, oh no, not me. No, I ain't getting involved in this. And he flips the song again. The whole church is going crazy on this song. I'm just sitting there, I can't move. I'm like, this is not fair. How are the marker not even here to have to deal with this?
Yeah.
Right? And then they do the last bam, 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 bam. And then he turns around and goes, and there's the guy that wrote the song over there.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
I was like, you shut me down, bro. I was like, I'm going back to the drawing board because that was a lot. That was a
Yeah.
lot. Anyway,
Big,
in
big
my
song.
life,
Sing Unto the Lord, written by Nicky Brown, Howard Francis, and Mark Beswick.
Beswick. And
Carried it off.
by the way, I would say it the other way around. I'd say Mark Beswick, Howard
Mark
Francis.
Beswick.
But I would say though that the Power Praise album is probably one of the greatest albums that's ever come out of the
Yeah,
UK.
I'm telling you, I would agree with you on that one. And it behooves me, like, how comes there weren't, like, some follow
Me
up
and Mark,
albums? But.
me and Mark are actively fighting about the him not doing a number three. Um, we wrote some songs for number two. I didn't get one on number two, but listen, man, those guys are incredible. Howard is one
Yeah.
of the most talented
You
writers.
need,
Mark is
Nicky,
one of the
let
most
me say
talented
this,
writers.
Nick. I think if you can, try and see if you can encourage them to come back around
Oh
and,
no,
and, and do some
we're not.
stuff.
It's gone past encouragement. We're actually having fights about it. We're fighting each
Yeah,
other about
well,
it.
if you want me to join in, I've got some big boots that I can put on, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He need,
All right, so
you
let's
know,
get into it
yeah.
now. Viv Broughton, the
So
premises.
basically, here goes the story again, right? So when I was 11 years old, I bunked off school to go to a studio session with Paul Powell, Andrew Smith, uh, uh, Paul. Oh God, I can't remember his second name. But he's got a twin sister who's married to one of the Doilies, the Doily brothers. Her name's Pauline, and his name is Paul. I can't remember their second name. But anyway, they used to go to our church in Brockley, and Shirley Fenty went to our.
Oh, I don't know what happened there. Well, I just don't know what happened to Nicky there. We got cut off.
Sorry.
You're back.
Are we
Nice
here?
one.
I'm back. So Shirley Fenty went to the church, our church
Yep.
in Camden Town, and Paul and somebody else, Paul Powell went to NTA. Andrew Smith. I've known Andrew Smith since I was 10,
Wow.
right?
Great guitarist.
Andrew Smith, he used to come over and play at our church on Sunday evenings, right?
Okay.
So uh, him and also another guy called Paul. I can't remember his second name. Anyway, Paul, they were playing for Shirley Fenty. They said to Viv that I should play drums. So I came over. I done a studio session in the studio of Seabrook Road at the time. You know, that's where Pastor McQueen's church was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I met Tony Williams
Okay.
and his brother and all of those guys. That's what I'm saying. The whole of the church world was different from how it is now.
It was like
Everybody's
the
kind of doing
who's
their own
who.
thing.
Who's who?
Yeah, I mean, but we were all like, there was no kind of like, there's no superstars in it. It was just all people that just loved music,
Yeah.
and we just got together. We just
Yeah.
wanted to be in each other's company. So
Yep.
anyway, I met this white guy, Viv
Viv.
Broughton, who looked like Van Morrison. You know, he'd like turn up in these kind of Macs with dark glasses on, sitting at the back of gigs. And they told me that he used to manage the Spirit of Watts. And so after a couple of years and us kind of doing well, you know, me and Freddie were doing well, kind of just playing for different people and stuff. I convinced him to allow me to produce one song, me and Freddie to produce one song for Shirley, which we done. We done a song called Walk With Me, which is like a gospel standard. And it was okay. It wasn't it wasn't supernatural or anything, but it was okay. But he gave us the money to do it,
Okay.
and
Good
it was
old Viv.
incredible that somebody was going to back us like that, you know. Um, and that's how we started working together. So I would go and see him. I talk to him about my ideas and blah 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 blah. Then there was this other lady over in South London, and her name was Levine Hudson,
Wow.
and she said to me one day at church, "I heard that you're into music," and I said, "Yeah, I love music, man. I want to be a producer." And she said, "Well, I got some songs and I want you to help me." And her dad, funnily enough, when I was a younger kid, every time we went to their church, he would kind of call me out of the audience and say, "Come and play the piano." And he made me play the piano. And he used to say to her, "If you're ever doing any music, get that boy to come and help you." So I started to go, Viv would pay for us to go to the studio in Collier's Wood called, I forgot what it was called now. But we used to, I used to live in East London, go all the way over to Collier's Wood to this studio. And that's where Paul Powell went. That's where Marcus and Steve, remember the Ethnic Boys, Marcus Johnson and Steve Campbell, they went over there. Paul Powell was over there. Brian Powell used to go over there. Everybody used to go to this one studio in this guy's front room, right? And then Levine won the competition at The Voice. And then we got to work in another studio called Flame Studios,
Yeah.
right? When we got to Flame Studios, she won the competition, which was being judged by Jazzy B at the time.
Soul to
I
soul.
was I was like just literally just turned 17, okay? Was like just trying to do music. I was playing with the Wade brothers. So that year we went to America because we won a competition. And went in the studio. We cut this track. It was a summertime, I remember. And the track was called Intervention. It won the competition. And then as a result of that, we got to go into a bigger studio, which was called Flame Studios. And uh, as a result of us doing that track, Levine got signed to Virgin. How about that? And I got my first publishing deal as a result of doing that track.
My goodness.
And
First
then
of
Brian
first of
Powell got
many.
signed.
First of many.
Brian Powell got signed.
Yep.
Paul Powell got signed.
Yep.
Michelle, who is Misha Paris got signed. Okay. I was also doing demos with Misha as well. And believe it or not, Viv used to manage all of us,
Wow.
the whole lot of us.
That
Shirley,
at that
Levine.
stage, right, Nicky, he didn't have the premises, did he?
No, he was still working at The Voice. And so my first ever studio was in the back of The Voice newspaper.
All right.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
My goodness.
Val McCullough, Val McCullough put up all the money for us to have this little studio in the back,
Okay.
which I which I bullied and controlled. But yeah, it was my studio.
Oh my
Yeah, and it was
gosh.
great. It was great. It was really good. Really good. Really good. Yeah.
Nicky,
So
you've worked with some giants over the years. Tell us, just flick out a few names on the pop scene and then gospel scene. Just names. Just give us some names.
mm,
Did you ever do any work with Will Young? Because I know Jerry did.
no, Jerry played with Will Young. I didn't work with Will Young, but I've worked with everybody from I don't know, Primal Scream, Tom Jones. Oh man, I got to read my rap sheet. My list is crazy. Mike and the Mechanics. That was the first one I went on with Lawrence. He put me on that.
Yeah,
Uh, Dead or Alive, believe it or not, things like those. You know that you spin me right round, baby
yeah.
record. That was we were on that. Can you believe it or not? Earth and Fire, B-52s. Um, I can't even. I have to read it because there's so much stuff
There's
on it.
so much. There's so much.
Stormzy recently. Um,
Who's
Emily
who's the
Sunday,
who's
obviously.
that choir that you're doing? You said you were doing some stuff with right now.
Well, we work with there's quite a few amazing like guys out there at the moment that are really blazing a trail
Yeah.
um, as vocal fixers and arrangers. One of which is a lady called Olivia Williams. She goes
Okay.
to SDA, but she's amazing. There's another lady called Angel Silvera, who's kind of seems to be taking the world over as well. And then obviously people like Vula and um, and TT, who's David Daniels' daughter. I mean,
Yeah.
that like all the great singers, LaDonna, all of those guys, LaDonna and oh, they just it just goes on and on and
I
on.
know.
And
You know when it's so big, right, Nicky, that you can't think straight. But I know that you've
no,
done work with great artists like Patricia Knight Scott.
yeah, definitely. Patricia Knight Scott's my big sister.
I love Patricia. She's a great woman
Yeah,
of God.
she's my big sister, and her husband John Scott is like
Yeah.
my big brother, man. I mean,
No.
when I was coming up in LCGC, he was the one who was encouraging me all of the time.
Yeah, and it's good
So
to have
I've got,
people like
I've,
that around you, right? Just
yeah,
that
I've
just
got nothing but,
encourage you all the time. Yeah.
I've got nothing but big
Did
respect
you
for those
did you
guys.
do anything with Lawrence Johnson and New Colors? Was you involved in any of that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Produced two of the best records on the album. Yeah,
Hey,
definitely. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
they got signed to
Um,
Polydor, right? They got signed to Polydor.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, one of my sales awards, the earliest sales awards, was with them because we actually done a song for the movie Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Oh
Believe it
wow.
or not. Yeah, we were on the soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we were on the soundtrack.
So
So, let me give you some names. So, M People,
yep.
Paolo Nutini, Madonna, Block Party, JP Cooper. Um, I did say Emily already. Baba Marl, Mark King from Level 42, Pete Townsend from The Who, Jimmy Cliff, Rick Astley. That was one of my real successes. I wrote a song with the great John Lind on his Cry for Help album, the big Cry for Help album. We got ourselves an award for that. Worked with Damage. They were great. Obviously, worked with the Winans, Dave McCalmont, and the list goes on. I mean, it's just too much to talk about, really. One of the things I did love though was I got to work with Karen Gibson,
Yeah. Kingdom
and we
Choir.
done we done the Queen's Jubilee celebrations in 2002,
Okay, nice one.
where they had the 5,000 piece choir,
My goodness.
and we arranged all the music and they done a big march down the mall and all of that stuff.
You've
That
done
was
so many
really like,
things, Nicky. It's incredible. I remember you've done like songs of praise and stuff like that.
oh yeah, just like
Yeah,
loads of TV.
BBC,
And I'm kind
loads
of,
of stuff.
I
When was
tell
it?
you
When was the
something
first
really
time?
great.
Yeah, when was the first
Last
time,
year,
Nicky, that you met the great Donald Lawrence? When was the first time? Because
the
I
first
know
time
you
I
guys.
met
You've
Donald
interviewed him.
Lawrence was like a 2 years ago, I think,
Okay.
when he had his thing in London. I interviewed him for TVN.
Yeah, but you know his work. You know his work, though, right? You know his work.
Yeah,
What do you think of his work?
when I say I met him,
Yeah,
I didn't meet him then. I knew him from before, so I knew him and Ricky Dillard and all those guys because when working with Bishop John Francis, we would always, we'd meet
you'd
all of
run
these
into them,
legends.
wouldn't you?
We run
Yeah,
into them all the time.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so, but actually getting to stop and have a 2 hour conversation, that never really happened, and so that happened that day, and it was really, really great. I got
yeah,
a lot to thank him for. First of all, because what a lot of people don't know is that he's actually a professor, so he has legitimized the education of gospel.
yeah,
So gospel not only as a religious music component, but also as an art form, which really puts it into a different category.
yeah. That's important.
So he's going to have the first PhD degree course in the world soon, and that takes it to another level. You know, um, when you're a musician who's kind of working on that level, where you're not just kind of doing sessions and stuff, but you're actually penetrating the mainstream in education and in the media. It's really, really great. I
Yeah,
mean, last year, I don't know if you know, but 18 of us received the RSL honorary degrees,
I do know. I do know. There
and
was a
that was
bunch. There was a bunch of
absolutely
you.
it was absolutely ridiculous. So last year was a big year for me because aside from all the other great things that happened, and also I got a BAFTA recognition last year for music that I contributed to a documentary that won a BAFTA.
Let me give you this.
So
Let me give you this. Props, man. Props,
appreciate it,
props,
man.
props, props. Well done, Nicky.
So what I'm saying is that meeting Donald was great because the way that Donald Lawrence spoke, was very, very. He was very challenging about how we respected and um, adorned ourselves with what we had learned. You know, how we respected what we'd learned and how we needed to make other people respect what we'd learned. I mean, I've had people in my life like Paul Weller.
Yeah,
Paul Weller saw me on TV playing on People Get Ready and called me at home. I was like when I used to live at my mum's house and just said, "Oh, I thought you sounded great, man, and I want you to come play in my band." I mean, just stuff like that is crazy. Playing with like Dave Stewart, from the
yeah,
Eurythmics,
yeah,
same thing. They would see what we were doing and they were just so affected by it. And like sitting in a restaurant with Dave Stewart and um, Daryl Hall walks in, from Hall and Oates.
yeah,
And the first thing Dave says to him is, "Can you sing him that song that you sing in church?" And me and Jerry and my cousin just start singing "Jesus Build a Fence," and they're just going mad. They're going crazy, like
yeah. And
because
you know what, Nick, I have to cut you there, because some people they're like, why are you hanging out with all these secular people for, man? What are you doing
because you
all of
got to be
that
a
for?
light, bro. You got to be a
Don't
light.
you just gotta be the light. And
You
they
got to
just
be a
don't
light,
understand.
and I think sometimes those guys maybe see something that everybody else doesn't see. Um, Dave was great. When we were on the road with Dave, they used to book a limo for him and he would never go in the limo. He wanted to sit next to me in the bus. And he just said, "Man, I just want to come and sit next to you in the bus." And I was like, "Yeah, cool, whatever." And we used to just talk about, he used to ask me about church, about my mom, about what it was like being brought up in church and all of that. And I'd say to him, like, you gotta, it's about respect, like explaining things like consecration and all of that.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This is like, when do you ever really get to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You get to
Yeah.
work on, and then also in the music business, you also get to work on lots of records where you never meet the artist. And then one day, way down the line, you get to say hi to them, and then you get to say, "Oh, I worked on this record with you," and they kind of go, "Oh my God, was you the
Was
guy
that
that worked on?"
you? Was that you?
Yeah. I mean, I worked on a Craig David record, and I think I met him like, I don't know, 5 years later or something,
Yeah.
10 years later, and it's
Nicky,
it's
you've done so
really
much over the years, right? But what's would you say has been like your greatest achievement to date? What would you say
my
that
great
would be? Yeah.
my greatest achievement to me. One of my well, you know what? Staying alive is my greatest achievement because we're from the East End, man, and a lot of my friends were in prison or died or just didn't do well. So for me, just being around is a great achievement. But I know that's because of, the hand of the Lord and also the upbringing. I mean, my grandfather was like a real influence in the church as well. But one of the things I would say is one of my greatest achievements is having met some of the people that I've met on this journey, like your Paul Johnsons and your Bobby Clarks and Steve Lewinson. These are all guys, that had massive influences on my life. And you know, most people kind of like their put their life or their career down to one person, which is themselves. I can safely say that I am a product of all of the people that they've all been an influence on me. Some of them I've had the chance to hang around a bit more than others, but I'm just a product of all of their determination, their grit, their talent, and I'm just glad that I got a chance to share with them. Share time with them, share life with them, and for me, that's the greatest achievement. Being able to be on the road with Bishop, right? Is
Bishop John
is like,
Francis.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
nuts. I mean, we talk about it sometimes, and it's just like, man, can you believe that we even ever got to do that? I remember, I remember being in St. Louis, Missouri, at Juanita Bynum's conference. 50,000 women, and it was ballistic. But it never got crazy until Bishop got on. When Bishop got on, it got crazy, right? I remember sitting, playing organ with some of my heroes being in the band at Hezekiah Walker's church. I mean, that was like a cartoon thing. You just wonder if this is real. Do you know what I mean? Sitting
Yeah.
behind Marvin Winans,
Yeah.
hanging out with Maurice White, meeting Michael Narada Walden, um, just meeting, working with Jocelyn Brown, and
I've been there. I've been there.
it's like,
You have to pinch yourself. Like, is this
yeah,
real?
because like,
Is this
you know,
real?
I get calls now, and it's the same thing. I'm like an 8-year-old. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you get, we get, you get into a room and you're working with people, you're working with some of the best writers in the world, or you're working with some of the best array. You know who I met just before Christmas?
Who's that? Who do you
The
mean?
Pope.
The
The Pope.
Pope.
We went and played some music for the Pope.
Oh
And I
wow.
got to arrange all of the. See, this is what I'm trying to say. If it wasn't for people like Basil, I wouldn't even be arranging for orchestra. Because
Yeah.
Basil was the one who told the people at the Albert Hall that he already had an arranger. And I'm
Reverend
like,
Basil Mead did
me?
that. He
Yeah,
was
and I was
talking
like,
about you.
me? And he said, yeah, you. And he said, you're going to do it and make sure you do it properly. And then I have to learn how to do it, right? But
Nice one, Baz.
now I'm winning awards for it. Like
Respect, Basil
this
me.
is the kind of thing that happens to you in your life when you have great mentors. You know, I remember John coming over and just saying, "Oh, we're gonna do a gig and we're gonna open what was it again? What's the what's the channel that's on? Is it ITV?
Yeah.
We're gonna open the new ITV channel." I'm like, at the time you're thinking, all right, cool, whatever. These are the kind of things that we were doing. Bishop John Francis, was they had hit records before he was a pastor. There's some amazing things that happened before now. So like everybody feels that they're doing stuff now, but really they're doing all right.
They're doing all right,
But
but they're not doing that good.
yeah,
I've Nick
there's some stuff that happened before that's next level, bro.
next level. Listen, this is going out live, it's been recorded as well. And I've got a question that's coming from one of the viewers that I need to ask, okay?
Hmm.
They were just wondering, what are the challenges for Christian artists who have suddenly achieved world fame? Just wondering, what are the challenges that a Christian artist like yourself? What are the challenges that you face when you suddenly achieve world fame? Status. What are the
Well,
challenges?
first of all, let me just put things into let me just put things into perspective. I don't have world fame, okay, but I haven't done too bad, and
You haven't done too bad. You've worked with some greats.
yeah, and there's some great artists that I've been able to work with, and some that I've been able to become friends or associates with. But one of the things you got to always remember is you have to remember yourself. You got to remember where you come from.
Yeah,
You got to remember what you know. You got to remember your morals. You got to remember what you've been taught, and you got to remember your own faith, your personal faith. Okay, so um, I'm not interested in like being like anybody else because they already taught me who I should be. So it's important for me to stay true to who I am. Okay, so I'm like many others, and not going to be the guy that's going to get up in church and say, "Oh, um, the world almost got me," because that's just never where we're going to be. Because first of all, we profess to be followers of Jesus Christ. Number one, number two, I'm very serious about being myself and being the person that God has made me to be, and to portray that person in every situation. So that's the first and foremost thing in everything, and that's why I love people like CC Winans, and I love people like some of the Kurt Franklin, some of those things. People got a problem with fame, but fame is not what you ask for; it's what you're given. What's important is how you handle that. Okay, and there are some people that you'll never get to speak to, but there's people that they will get to minister to, they'll get to talk to. So we've got to be careful about how we also pray for those people and how we uphold those people. And I know for me personally, if it wasn't for prayer and it wasn't for people upholding me, calling me, loving me, always being concerned about me, maybe I'd be a different person. But this is these are all the experiences that make us. And it's a really important thing that you know, you find me at church, man. I'm a church guy.
yeah, that's great.
I'm a church
That's
guy.
great.
I go to this amazing church in Hackney called Saint. Okay, it's got 4 locations. Right, it's a multicultural church. I still play at church. I still lead worship at church. Okay, I ain't no different from doing anything different from what I was doing when I was 12 years old, because I need that to in order to stay balanced. You
Stay
know,
grounded.
to stay grounded. It's
Yeah.
important,
Oh yeah,
So
I would say so. It's so important. Nicky, I've enjoyed every moment of our conversation today. I really appreciate the time that you've given, considering all the things that you're up to and you get to do. If anyone wants to get hold of you for any reason, maybe they want to book you for a session or whatever, how can they do that?
yeah, they can jump in my DMs on Instagram. I'm a reluctant social mediaist.
I gotcha.
Uh, I can just about Instagram, just about. Um, but yeah, you can DM me and I'll send you an email address and stuff, and we can.
What's your address? Is it just Nicky Brown? Did I search Nicky
Oh yeah,
Brown?
Nicky Brown Music,
Nicky
and
Brown
I'm
Music.
and I'm verified. Yeah, I'm
I
verified.
got you. I got you.
So
Nick.
so listen, I want to shout out just very quickly some of the artists that I've been working with lately. Um, Gospel artists, Ricky Doolan,
Okay.
um, Patrice Campbell, Dennis, I think her name is, or Dennis Campbell. She won the um, Songs of Praise Soloist of the Year.
Uh huh.
But I think she's amazing. I think she's brilliant.
Okay.
My top girl, Dawn Thomas
All right.
Wallace. Um, I'm also currently working with what else have I cut? Oh yeah, Sarah, Sarah. Oh my god, I can't remember her second name. It's
I've
bad.
got two Sarahs in mind. Is it Tybo or Wonders? None of
I
them.
actually done a track for Sarah Tybo was on a on a on the songwriters project,
Okay.
and I worked on that. It was do you know Isaiah and Levi's mum? She wrote the
Okay.
songs.
All right.
Her name, I forgot her name. Oh my god, this is terrible. I'm forgetting everybody's names. But and there's another lady from Luton Church in Kojic. Her name's Sarah Watson.
So Watson.
So I've been working with Sarah Watson. She's great. Just been. I'm really into the grassroots, man. So I'm staying close to my people. You know what I'm saying?
Good. Nice one. That's
Staying
what I
close to
love.
my
I
people.
love that. I love that about you. So you keep
Yeah.
that up, Nicky.
Yes,
Keep it
man.
up.
We got to come back. We got to come back on, and we're gonna have some podcasts and stuff
Okay.
where we
Cool.
get to talk about some of these finer details of things that have happened that obviously generations before don't really know. I mean,
Yeah,
they
and
don't know about
it's
they don't
important.
know
It's
about you,
important
Lee.
that we talk about these things and remind
Lee,
them
they
of
don't know
this is
about
how it
you,
used to be.
bro.
They don't know. What they know?
That's what I'm saying. They don't know about like when you was on the other stations
Yeah.
and I think
We've got to
all
we've
of
got to
that.
keep that energy alive, haven't we?
Yeah, well, that narrative I think is important because it lets everybody know what was actually going on.
Yeah.
And then let's be honest as well, the business has changed immeasurably.
Yeah.
The business is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
So we're in different days now. You
I
know,
would love to be part of that round table where it'd be a bunch of people like yourself,
you're gonna
maybe
be there,
even
bro. You
Noel Robinson and some
Yeah,
Basil Mead and you know what I mean.
yeah. You see,
We,
like even Noel, people don't know about how great that guy is. They
he's a
don't know
genius.
about how amazing. They don't know that we've been in bands since we were like. Noel was like, Noel was like our big brother.
Yeah.
Noel was a married man with a big car and children before we even thought about thought about trying to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's always been a brilliant example to us. In
Yeah.
fact, he played in that band in the inspirational choir. That's where we first really met.
Yeah. Noel
And
Robinson is a
Noel's a
genius.
champion, bro. He's
And
a
let me
genius.
say this to Camera. Let me say this to Camera. If you haven't got his new album, it's coming out on the 28th, I believe. It's been released. Noel Robinson's new album. Do a search for it. Make sure you're part of that, early booking. Get yourself one of those albums. It's
Lee, Lee,
absolutely.
Lee. I don't want them to just buy the new album. I want them to stream it and go back and find everything he's ever done.
Yes.
and get it on their playlist. Download it, stream it,
Noel's
do
my
it all.
guy. Noel's my guy. Nicky, thank you so much. God bless you, my brother. Thank you for your
Wonderful, man.
time. God bless you.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, God bless. So there you go. My guest on the Grantley show was the great Nicky Brown, and do you know what? I'm just so full up of knowledge, stuff that I haven't. Some I knew, some I didn't know, but hopefully you were encouraged and informed of some really great information. Until the next time, which will probably be later on this week, I'll be speaking to another great. Thank you so much for being with me today on today's show. I really do appreciate you. Until the next one, God bless you.